Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with another episode of Plague Inc. Evolved, the early access Windows version of the popular cell phone game. Man, that was a crazy intro to pick. Today we're doing the scenario Sovereign Default, which is great news because it means we're not doing Smallbox anymore. A failure to extend the debt ceiling in the US triggers a major financial rebalancing. A few countries benefit, but most suffer catastrophic damage to their economics with knock-on impacts on healthcare and research capabilities. Can things get any worse? This was definitely a major risk that something like that might happen, and I guess still is a major risk that something like that might happen. Let's see. Let's call it debt default. I don't know if we're gonna go through another cycle in which the people that were in charge that were refusing to raise the debt ceiling are still in charge and would do it again. It turned into a whole bunch of boistering and nothing really got accomplished, and it was just people refusing to do the things they need to do. Now, arguably, people who were being honest, so not politicians basically, could make arguments to say they need to lower their expenses and reduce the debt of the country of the United States. However, to do that they need to cut a lot of pet projects, and the number one project that most of the government's budget goes to, which is military spending. And the people that didn't want to raise the debt ceiling absolutely did not want to do those two things. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either you allow the country to get further and further into debt and just suck it up and say fine, and then potentially ruin the economy that way, or you cut your spending. This is as true for individual people as it is for countries. Now, the only difference really is the country does have the ability to pretty much unilaterally increase its income, whereas as an individual, as a person, you can't really go and demand with force a raise. The governments can give themselves a raise by just taxing more. So yeah, you could raise taxes too, but of course no politician ever wants to do that. That's one surefire way to lose your job. Honestly though, if the United States went default, all the other countries are so intertwined with our economy, it would just bring down everybody, and to the point where I don't think anybody would really be that changed. That's kind of the reason why countries can have pretty much unlimited amount of debt, is that it just can go on forever as long as everybody stays to the same ratio of everybody else. It should work just fine. It's all a bunch of, to use the simple term, it's a bunch of chicanery, or I was gonna say money laundering, but that's probably not the right term. But it's all a bunch of numbers that don't mean anything. If one country says another country owes them $1 million, they go, okay, we'll pay you back in 20 years. And then the 20 years rolls around and they say, all right, here's your money back, but we need a loan for twice as much now. And that's pretty much how it works. The last time actual debt really affected anybody that I'm aware of in my very poor education of world history was Germany. Germany was in massive amounts of debt, I believe, after World War I, and they're such a impoverished thing. Such impoverishment allowed the Nazi Party to come into power, and I think after that a lot of countries started to forgive a lot of debts, and that's what we sometimes do, is we'll just go, yeah, you owe us this money, but we're not going to really collect it. Because the last thing you want to do is have a country be so impoverished and so horrible that then somebody can promise the solution to get out of it is just to attack everybody else. I mean, which arguably as individuals is probably the right way, is if we just got threw all the bankers into the bottom of the ocean, everybody's debt would be gone and we'd be way better off. The whole system has got problems all throughout, though. The concept that people can go into debt, the concept that people can lend money, the concept that there can be a system of such inequality that people need to go into debt or lend money is really the inherent flaw. It's just cracks in the cobblestone all the way down. You can never see it. A very clear example of that is education. You're trying to start your life, you're trying to become as educated, as much of a contributing citizen to a society as possible. And what is the very first thing they want you to do? Pay a ridiculous amount of money that no one can afford. There is literally zero, I'm using hyperbole here, but there is literally zero people who can go into college and have saved up money from working part-time jobs while they were in high school, so much so that they can just pay off tuitions. Now throw out any grants or scholarships, because those don't really count. That's just more things that were created. An average person with no grants, no scholarships, which is all that can be assumed an average student would get, has zero chance to be able to pay that off. Like you would if you were going to just go to the store and buy a candy bar. And use that example. Think about that. Who would go to a store and get a loan for a candy bar? Because it just makes no sense. The whole thing makes no sense. Education should be free, and knowledge should be free. That's really what we've got to get to as a whole planet, is that all knowledge has to be free. That if somebody writes a book, great. His input should contribute to society, and it should be free to the rest of society. And yes, I agree, the person who wrote the book should be taken care of and have a comfortable lifestyle, but that's because he's a human, not because he is a book writer or in some way maybe contributed by one measurement more than other people. So it does definitely paint a different type of world if you would This is really weird. Let's just go ahead and do this. I'm playing on regular, and it's like the whole planet's already infected. Wow. I think he probably overweighed this scenario. This is too easy. This is getting close to a political statement, how easy it is for a disease to infect the world now that one country's gone, that the US has gone default. But yeah, it paints a different world, where if you start saying somebody writes a song, somebody makes a movie, somebody writes a book, and then it just is freely distributed to everybody. I mean, that's totally a different way of thinking. It gets everybody more education, more entertainment, and as long as through a different system, we all agree that the people that create those should be treated fairly as every other human should be treated fairly and live a well-off life. Those artists, once they start living in a world like that and start thinking from that perspective, would be happy to write another book. I don't know any artists of any kind that wouldn't. Look at me. As an example, I'm probably would barely even qualify as an artist, but I make these episodes, and they certainly don't pay for themselves. But I'm alright at the moment. I'm not quite yet starving to death, and so I just keep on doing it, and because I have fun and I have passion, and this is something that interests me in doing. I'm interested in continuing doing this, and so I keep doing it, and then I let it go on the internet for free. So I'm kind of practicing what I'm preaching to an extent. Yes, I do have a donation link that you can donate to me, and that would be greatly appreciated. It would help me have some stability when my current situation gets worse, which it almost certainly will. One day I will need to get enough donations to maintain my current lifestyle, which is a pretty conservative one, with some exceptions of having to buy a computer and video games as part of a career. But yeah, I practice what I preach to the best as I can in the society I live now. And if everybody lived like me and we did have that perspective all over the world, we'd be a lot better off. Particularly as things become more and more automated, and we start realizing that we don't really need people to do jobs. That is the inherent issue. The problem that nobody wants to admit is even now we don't really need people to do most jobs. We're having them sit around and play on their phones and take meetings that don't accomplish anything, or be like jobs have huge inefficiencies. Let's see, I need 10 DNA. Now, we do have the problem here that this is not very lethal disease. It may get to the cure if I'm not fast enough. There we go, starting to kill people. We need 11 more DNA to mutate more symptoms. There we go. And then 13 more DNA. Anyways, that's enough of that rant. I think we're going to win this. I would hold to, I think this is a little exaggerated. It really is. I don't think it was ever going to really get that bad. I think all the politicians who were threatening to never raise the debt ceiling and did afterwards anyways, because they knew they had to, were going knew nothing like this would ever happen. It's just not realistic. As soon as a disease came out, it's so easy for them to say, well, here's unlimited funds, get it done. We have to get this done. We have to, or the whole planet's gonna die. Maybe if there was a prolonged period of cutting of the funding of research and such, we could be so scientifically behind that no matter, even with unlimited funds, we couldn't catch up. That's a possibility, yeah. Anyways, that's debt default. 522 days, 44%, 45,437 points, and 2 biohazards. That was easy. Which is great. It's great that that was easy after smallpox, which took us 4 or 5 attempts. But yeah, that was easy. So next time, I believe, if we're lucky, will be our last simian. Yes, we have to do simian flu one more time, and then after that we will do a scenario and start trying to do the things on brutal to unlock the last cheats. But we're done for this time. Sorry if I got a little ranty. Sometimes I do that. I usually keep it for my series Hearthstone, which you should watch. Even if you don't understand Hearthstone, that's where I talk more about other stuff anyways. Anyways, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps me out. If you want to support me, and please do, click on my name Rydo. On the right is a blue button that says support this channel. If you want to follow or friend me on any social media, practically, all those links are down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.